friend, welcome back. This is the Daily Spark. Let's learn something fun today. Good to be here. I'm currently drinking my third cup of tea. It's raining outside and I absolutely love it. You always love the rain. I just got caught in it without an umbrella. I am completely soaked. It is just the universe telling you to slow down. Or it's telling me to check the weather app. Anyway, learning English can feel a bit like getting caught in the rain, right?
It really can. You step outside feeling confident.
Right.
Then suddenly, a storm of new grammar hits you. You feel completely unprepared.
Exactly. You might feel frustrated when you know what you want to say,
Oh,
but the words just hide from you. It feels so unfair.
we see you. That struggle is so normal.
I love that.
But today, we're going to make it simple. English is really just about connection, not perfect rules.
Today's promise is clear. You will learn how to talk about solving mysteries and standing up for the truth in English. Standing up for the truth is hard in your native language. Doing it in English, that takes real courage. But you already have that courage. We're just giving you the tools to show it. Let's dive in.
So, let me ask you this. Have you ever tried to warn someone about a problem, but they completely ignored you?
Oh, absolutely. It's the worst feeling in the world. You can see the car crashing in slow motion, basically.
Right. You point at the danger, you shout, "Look out," and they just stare at you like you are crazy.
I told my friend not to buy this cheap used car. I pointed out all the weird noises it made.
Did he listen to you?
Of course not. He bought it. 3 days later, the engine caught fire on the highway.
A literal fire. That perfectly captures the frustration. Now, imagine that feeling, but the stakes are life and death.
Okay, you have my attention. Where are we going today?
We're going to Vienna, in the middle of the 1800s, a busy hospital.
Sounds a bit dark, James.
It is. A terrible disease was sweeping through the hospital. People were getting sick, and no one knew why.
An invisible killer. That sounds like a horror movie.
It really was. The doctors were totally baffled.
Mm-hmm.
They blamed the weather. They blamed bad air. They even blamed the ringing of a bell.
Wait, a bell? Like a church bell? That makes absolutely no sense today.
I know, but back then they had no idea what germs were. Germs were invisible.
So they just guessed. They made up reasons because they were scared.
Exactly. But one doctor, Ignaz Semmelweis, decided to look closer. He didn't accept the bad air theory.
He wanted real answers. He was the guy pointing at the cheap car, telling everyone it was going to catch fire.
Yes, he saw the truth. But trying to get the world to listen to him, that was the real battle.
Have you ever felt like that? Like you're the only one seeing reality?
It's a lonely place to be. But his story gives us amazing ways to talk about finding facts and fighting ignorance.
You know, last week my laptop just stopped working, completely dead. Oh no. Did you get the dreaded blue screen? Worse, black screen. I honestly didn't know who to blame for it.
Was it a bad software update or did you spill coffee again?
Very funny. No coffee this time. I had to figure out the issue.
Figure out. We use this constantly, but it has a specific feeling, right?
It really does. It feels like untangling a messy, knotted necklace.
Yes, you have to be patient. You test different things.
Exactly. You don't just find a complex solution instantly. You figure it out.
And that is exactly what Dr. Semmelweis did in the 1840s. Women were getting terribly sick in his hospital ward. It was tragic. People wanted to blame the bad air or even the weather outside. But Semmelweis didn't buy that. He started to notice a strange pattern. The doctors were studying sick patients. Then they delivered babies right after, without washing their hands. I mean, it sounds absolutely crazy today. Think about how terrifying that reality was for a second. It's heartbreaking. To stop it, he had to look closely at their habits. Look closely. This isn't just quickly glancing at something as you walk by. Right, it feels like taking out a magnifying glass. You want hidden details. He needed solid evidence to prove his hand-washing theory to everyone. So, he looked closely at the daily schedules, he tracked the numbers, he gathered the facts. So how could our listeners use these phrases tomorrow? Try this at work. If a big project is failing, don't panic. Just tell your team, let's look closely at the recent data. Or tell your manager, give me an hour to figure out this error. It sounds so smart. You become the ultimate problem solver. But what if that ultimate problem solver gets it completely wrong? Oh, that happens all the time, especially in medical history. Exactly. Let's say your boss completely ruins a big project at work. Do you walk in and say, hey, you're a giant, massive failure?
No way. I mean, you would be packing your desk instantly.
Right. Instead, we use a softer phrase. We say they made a mistake.
It is so much gentler. It takes the angry sting right out.
It feels forgiving. It says, hey, well, we're all human.
The doctors in our story made a huge mistake, honestly.
They totally did. They didn't notice the real danger on their hands.
Right? They chose to ignore the tiny invisible germs spreading around. Instead, they blamed the sickness on bad smells in the air.
They really jumped to conclusions there. That is our next key phrase today, to jump to conclusions.
How does that specific phrase feel to you, right?
It feels reckless and fast, like you're skipping steps on a staircase. You fall down because you rush. You don't wait for the truth.
Yes, you just guess the answer immediately, and you usually guess wrong.
And that is super dangerous. Bad guesses do not prevent the problem.
So true. People do this in normal daily life too. If your friend gets mad without knowing the facts, what would you say to them?
Whatever you said, that impulse to ask, wait, what actually happened, is exactly the right instinct.
Well, how can our listeners use these exact phrases tomorrow?
If someone blames you too quickly at work, just stay calm. You do not need to fight back or get defensive.
Just smile and say, I think we're jumping to conclusions here.
Exactly. Or simply say, let's make sure we didn't make a mistake.
That keeps the peace. It sounds professional and polite.
Try it out this week. It's a total lifesaver.
If you stop jumping to conclusions, what do you actually do instead?
Well, you gather evidence. But honestly, having evidence is rarely enough on its own.
Right. Imagine you're a detective standing in a very strange room. You see a muddy shoe, a broken window, and a spilled cup of coffee. Who do you blame for this mess? How do you prevent another break-in?
The dots feels like a sudden, bright spark of clarity. It's not just reading facts. It feels like finally solving a jigsaw puzzle. Exactly. You see how the muddy shoe links perfectly to the broken window. And once you connect those dots, the whole situation starts to make sense. I love that phrase. Make sense feels like a massive sigh of relief. It really does. It's like turning pure chaos into perfect, calm order. You've been there, right? Staring at a confusing text message until it finally clicks.
Oh, absolutely. Like every single time my teenage niece texts me new slang.
I mean, it takes me 10 full minutes to connect the dots sometimes.
But when it finally makes sense, you can just relax and stop stressing.
Speaking of making sense of things, there was another doctor, John Snow, who did exactly that in London.
He had his map. He had the locations of all the sick patients.
None of it made sense at first. It was just completely scattered information.
So he connected the dots. He searched for the hidden pattern in the streets.
And that exact pattern led him straight to the invisible killer.
So here's a quick use it tomorrow tip for you at work.
Next time a coworker explains a really tricky problem, try using this phrase.
Just nod your head and say, "Ah, I'm starting to connect the dots."
It's a brilliant response. It shows you're actively following their logic.
Plus, honestly, it just makes you sound incredibly sharp and focused.
But here's the sad truth about sounding incredibly sharp and focused.
Oh, what's that?
Sometimes people just hate it. They'll completely ignore your brilliant ideas.
Honestly, I disagree. I think it's mostly about your tone of voice.
No way. Some experts just refuse to listen. Period. Tone doesn't matter.
Well, let's let our listener decide who's right here, you or me.
Fair enough. Think about those stubborn doctors from our medical history story.
Right. They wouldn't notice the obvious proof sitting right in front of them.
Exactly. They wanted to blame anything else instead of their own bad habits. They had huge egos, you know? They would just refuse to listen. Let's really unpack that phrase. How does it feel to say that out loud? It feels like pushing against a heavy, locked door. It's pure, exhausting frustration. Yes, you're not just missing the message by accident, you're actively blocking it.
Right. You're making a choice to be entirely stubborn. So what do you do when important people act exactly like that?
Well, you have to stand your ground.
Oh, I really love the powerful feeling of this specific phrase.
It feels very physical, like planting your feet deep in wet concrete.
Yes, it means you absolutely do not back down. You fiercely protect your idea.
Even when a whole room of angry senior experts is totally against you.
Next time someone argues over where to eat lunch, do not easily give in.
Yes, just look them directly in the eye. Tell them your firm choice.
I dare you to try this tomorrow.
Now, for a professional use it tomorrow tip, try this at your actual job. If a loud coworker tries to change your good idea, use this exact phrase. Just say, I need to stand my ground on this particular issue. It sounds incredibly polite and calm, but it shows you won't be bullied. And because Dr. Snow stood his ground, he finally forced a real change. He literally just took the handle off the Broad Street water pump. That was his entire genius move. No handle, no infected water. It's funny how modern society expects massive, complicated fixes for big problems. Oh, completely. We always assume some shiny new technology is the only answer. But sometimes the best fix is just removing a cheap piece of metal. We honestly just take for granted the basic things around us. Let's talk about how that phrase actually feels to use. Take for granted feels like forgetting a quiet, everyday blessing. You stop appreciating something because it's always just sitting there. Like clean water from a kitchen tap, We just expect it.
It is a feeling of blind comfort. You assume things will always work. Dr. Snow had the hard evidence to prove the water was toxic. He knew removing that handle would prevent more sickness in the neighborhood. Even though city officials tried to ignore his brilliant map at first, by doing something so unbelievably simple, he managed to save lives. Now that phrase feels incredibly heavy and heroic. I mean, it is not just fixing a minor mistake at the office. Exactly, it's literally stopping death in its tracks. You do not use this phrase casually for small favors. It carries massive emotional weight. You say it with deep respect. Think about the tiny things keeping you safe every single day. Seriously, there are invisible heroes all around us. So, for your Use It Tomorrow tip, let's practice a little gratitude. Think of someone who quietly supports you in your daily life. Tell them, I honestly take your help for granted sometimes. It's a beautiful, honest way to show deep appreciation. Before we wrap up, let's take a closer look at the key words from this story. Yes, starting with the first word any good investigator needs. Let's jump right into our word review. You might have heard us say the word notice earlier.
Yes, notice isn't about staring at something for hours. It's that sudden, sharp feeling. A tiny detail just catches your eye.
Like walking into a room and instantly feeling that the furniture moved. Semmelweis didn't search for the invisible killer at first. He just happened to notice a weird pattern.
To use it tomorrow, keep it casual. Tell a coworker, I noticed the printer is making a strange sound again. It's helpful, not aggressive.
Perfect. Now, let's talk about blame. This is a very heavy emotional word.
It really is. Blame is pointing a sharp finger. It's deciding someone else is the absolute bad guy when a plan falls apart.
People love to blame others because it's easy. But tomorrow, try flipping it around. Say, let's focus on fixing the schedule instead of blaming the delivery team.
That's great leadership right there. It takes the heat out of the room.
Exactly. Now, what happens when you need to prove your crazy theory is right? You need evidence.
Evidence is your ultimate backup. It's not a guess. It's the solid, undeniable proof you hold in your hand. And you need that proof when you're trying to figure out a huge mess. You gather the evidence first, right? And then you connect the dots. You link all those clues together until the whole situation finally starts to make sense. Beautifully said. Those phrases tie perfectly into gathering proof. A great way to use evidence tomorrow is in a decision meeting. Just ask, do we have enough evidence that our customers actually want this feature? It sounds incredibly professional.
I love that example. All right, our fourth vocabulary word is prevent.
Prevent is all about seeing the future and stopping the disaster.
It's putting up a giant shield before the arrows even fly. Washing hands to prevent illness.
Changing your oil to prevent a car crash. Try using it at home tomorrow. Cooking dinner now will prevent us from ordering expensive takeout later.
My wallet definitely appreciates that one. Okay, our final word today is ignore.
Ignore is a choice. It is actively turning your head away. It is pretending the giant elephant in the room simply does not exist.
Like those stubborn doctors from our story. They chose to ignore the dirt on their hands because the truth was too painful. It happens all the time. Tomorrow, you could tell a friend, I tried to ignore that loud construction noise, but it gave me a headache.
Learning English can feel a lot like Dr. Semmelweis trying to explain invisible germs. It really can. You know what you want to say. The idea is crystal clear in your head, but when you speak, people just look confused. They might even ignore you because they don't understand, and that can make you want to give up right there. You might think, why am I even trying? But remember, Semmelweis didn't stop looking for the evidence. He stood his ground. You were doing the exact same thing every time you practice. You are gathering evidence that you can do this. So here's our big takeaway today. You have learned how to talk about solving mysteries and standing up for the truth in English. And that starts with small steps. So here's your listener challenge. Try using the word notice tomorrow. Notice a small detail about someone and point it out. It really builds connection. Tell us in the comments, what is something strange you noticed today? Let's share our observations. I'll be reading those. Keep gathering your evidence. Don't let anyone blame your mistakes on a lack of talent. It just takes time. Beautifully said. You are doing much better than you think you are. Next time, imagine that frustrating moment when you know exactly what you want to say, but the English words completely vanish from your brain the second someone looks at you.
Oh, that is the worst feeling in the world. I can't wait to unpack that.
This has been the Daily Spark Radio. See you next time.